All right, hey everyone, this is Dr. Shamit. This is going to be take two for our first lecture for the foundations class from Monday, January 10th. Had some technical difficulties in class with the recording and everything. So I'm just going to breeze through and recap what we talked about just for the people who weren't able to make it and stuff. All right, so this is going to be lecture 0. I'm just calling it lecture 0 because we are mainly just going over the syllabus and other important information pertaining to the structure of the class, kind of the expectations, textbooks, all that fun stuff. So we're not really getting into any of the meat or any of the really important information context-wise until Wednesday, the 12th. So again, this is CEG4101. This is the design and analysis of foundations, or I'm just going to call it foundations class, CEG being a geotechnical course, so geotechnical course elective or tech elective, where we're going to talk primarily on different types of foundation solutions. So all the fun structural engineering, soil structure interaction, all the stuff that goes on underground so we can have a successful project above ground. So this is really just going to be a part 2 of our Geotech 1 class that all of you should have taken in order to get in this class. So the lecture, it's here in building 2, which is a weird building. That's a Founders Hall. So second floor in room 2008. And it's right by all the art and everything. So if you're walking and you see a bunch of art on the wall, then you're heading in the right place. It's only on Mondays and Wednesdays, noon to 1:15 p.m. I'll try to start right on at noon. So try to get there early and get seated. And I'll usually be in the room about 15 minutes beforehand if you have any questions or want to discuss anything else outside of class. So for this semester, what I'm going to say is just attendance is expected. You guys are all upperclassmen, have different schedules. You may be working, may have other responsibilities, and you guys are all smart people. You all know how classes work. You can technically pass this class and not come to class in person at all. It'll be a bummer. You definitely won't get as much out of it as the people in class will. But I am going to be recording each class and I will be posting the lectures, and I'll have more details there in a second. The way I'm going to be teaching this class is through PowerPoint and fill in the blank. So I know it's kind of old school, but I think it's the easiest structure-wise. I'll be posting PowerPoint shells before each class that you can download, you can print, and you can use your device, laptop or tablet or whatever, and just write in there instead of just using whiteboard and a bunch of paper and stuff. There'll also be questions and answers that will be by hand, but everything will be on a PowerPoint. So just keep that in mind. We'll try to keep it consolidated in just the PowerPoints that I post before class each week. We will be using Canvas, and Canvas will still be where all of our quizzes are. All of our homeworks will be uploaded there. And that's also where all the lecture notes can be found and downloaded from. So Canvas will be our home away from home. If you are unfamiliar with Canvas, I doubt any of you guys are, but you can download the apps on Apple or on Android, and it's much, much easier to work on, the mobile version just to check on what's due. You can even scan your homework that way by taking a picture of it and uploading it that way. So just super convenient using the mobile app if you haven't gotten familiarized with that already. So the lectures, as I mentioned before, they will be recorded, but it really is only being recorded for your review. And of course, because this fun thing, COVID, generally I would want you guys to come to class and participate. But with all of the headache and uncertainty of people needing to dip out last minute because of exposure or sickness or something, I'm going to record them. And then I will be able to post them if you need them. What I will do is post the recording lectures. So lecture record, that should be recorded. So the recorded lectures will be posted each Friday at noon. So we have class on Monday and Wednesday, and I will record the lectures on Monday and Wednesday, but I will not publish them and not make them available to the general public until Fridays at noon. So we will also have weekly quizzes each Friday due by midnight. So they'll be due by midnight each week. So if you choose not to come to class and just watch the lectures recorded and posted, and know that you only have this window from noon to midnight to get the information and complete get the information required to complete the quizzes. The quizzes are going to be basic. They're mainly just keeping you up to date and making sure that you're paying attention and understanding the most important little pieces of information from each week. But that's why I would definitely recommend and expect you guys to come to campus and sit in class, but you do have this plan B in case something comes up. So exams will also be held in person. So in the syllabus and later on in this presentation, you'll see the exam schedule. Go ahead and just double check with your employers, with other commitments and or anything, and just make sure to keep those dates clear. And if there are any issues of time commitments or anything, then let me know and we can sort out a different date. All right, so for the resources, we are going to be using these two textbooks. These are recommended, but not required. So you do not need to purchase these to pass this class. If you're a textbook kind of person and you like to collect these, and especially if you're interested in geotechnical or foundation engineering, then I would recommend purchasing at least this one here, the Cheng and Evett. This textbook is nice and thin, and it's very concentrated. It's kind of condensed, so there's not a lot of fluff, but they do a really good job of presenting information and also providing a lot of examples. So either one of these are good. You could probably find them floating on the internet somewhere, or just getting the PDF version, or used different editions. Like this is 8th edition. It doesn't necessarily need to be 8th edition. This guy, the DOS textbook, he comes out with a new edition each year. That's pretty much the same thing. So any edition will work. I will still include at the beginning of each one of my lectures where I'm getting the information from. But again, it's not required for this class to get these textbooks. They'll definitely help, but it's not required. All right, grading is pretty typical. Those quizzes I was talking about are going to be 15%. Your homework's going to be 20%. There is 2 tests, so 2 exams in this class, 1 midterm and 1 final, even though the final is kind of early. I'll go over that here in a second. Those are going to be worth 20 and 25% respectively. And then we are going to be having a group design project / report that's going to be worth 20%. And then basic here, A, B, C, D, E, Fs from 90 to 100, no pluses or minuses. And curving may be needed at the end. I generally don't curve at all, but I want to keep it fair with the course averages and everything like that. So communication with me, office hours and email will be the best bet. You can see my email here. If you haven't been to my office, it's in building 4, first floor, 1213. These are my set office hours. If these don't work for you, then just shoot me an email and I'd be happy to meet in person or over Zoom at your convenience. I'm pretty open. You generally have an open door policy whenever I'm on campus. If the door's open, feel free to knock and come on in. But one thing I'm going to ask, just since this is a tech elective and I want to prioritize your guys' time, just if you do have a question about the course content or about anything we're talking about, please include the course title in the subject line. Just generally, a lot of professors said this to me when I was in school and I didn't really get it, but now I do. We just get a lot of random emails and it's really easy for things to slip under. And, I could have maybe thought I responded, but I didn't, just all that stupid old people stuff that I can blame it on now. But just do me a favor, include the CEG4101 in there. So usually by the end of each week, I'll just do a Control F and make sure that I've reached all of the emails that were pertinent to that class. that I may not have responded. Feel free to hound me too if I don't respond with an email. It's nothing personal. Like if I don't respond within a day or so, then feel free to just send a follow-up email. Just I could have accidentally got lost in the email chain and all that stuff. So communication with me early and often will definitely be beneficial for both of us. And also when you're working in your project groups, early communication and often communication is just a good professional courtesy that will help you, beyond the scope of this class in your professional life too. All right, so some of the goals for this class, the main thing is going to be preparing you for the FE and for the PE. And I know some of you guys have probably already taken this exam. The FE is going to be the first one that you take. And now in Florida, if you want to be a practicing engineer, you can take the professional engineering exam right after you graduate with your undergraduate degree. You can't get licensed for another 40 months after, or 48 months after you've graduated and started working. But you can take your test right away, which is nice because some of that material is still fresh in your mind. So just looking at the FE, you can see geotechnical engineering section. We've done a lot of the index properties and classifications. Well, first, there's 10 to 15 questions on your FE just on geotechnical information. So we've talked about the index properties, the phase relationships, some of the laboratories and field tests, and got into effective stresses and a little bit of the retaining earth structures when we were in our Geotech 1, right? This was all stuff from that CEG4011. Sorry, it's 3 here. 3011. These are all things that we're going to go over and touch on over the semester, but there's all of this we didn't get a chance to get to. So the shear strength, bearing capacity, different types of failure mechanisms of foundations of soils. So that's like failure here. Foundation types, consolidation and differential settlement, slope stability and soil stabilization. These are all things we're going to be touching on this semester. And I'm going to format the class and the questions as you would see them in the FE and the PE. So I'll be sure to highlight the aspects where they will generally try to trick you and generally try to throw these like little hiccups and just with units and all that fun stuff. Because basically these two tests are testing you mainly on your ability to take a test, unfortunately, and your ability to comprehend information and think critically. So I'm going to structure this class in preparing you, or so that it prepares you to take these two tests. The other major goal, just from a technical standpoint, is going to be understanding the soil failure mechanisms and analysis steps when choosing the best suited foundation design solution. So if you're completely new to geotechnical engineering, what you need to know is everywhere in the US has different soils. This is a USGS map. That's United States Geologic Survey. This is a USGS map of soil type in the US. So you can see if you're working just hanging out in Florida, then there's different shades, there's different types of soil. But if you were to move anywhere else, like outside of Jacksonville over to like Michigan, then you're going to be working with completely different soil conditions. And those soil conditions may require different foundation types with different loading. So this class is going to just briefly, we can't get into the whole geologic conditions of the US, but at least in Florida and the general practices of the types of foundations that you're going to need to design based off of the type of soil or the classification or the problem of soil that you may have. So when I say the different types of foundation types, some of these may be familiar to you, especially if you've worked or seen a construction site or even just driven around in Florida and looked out your window. Generally, there's two main types of foundations. You have your shallow foundation and you have your deep foundations. So I only showed one picture here, but we have our pile foundations, our deep foundations. For our shallow foundations, you can have what we call mat or raft foundations. And then we also have footings or what we call spread foundations. And the whole purpose of all of these are to distribute the loads from the structure into or through the ground. So for our shallow foundations, these are basically just increasing the footprint of the load. So if we have a ground surface that looks something like this, we have a structural load coming here from, a column or an elevator shaft or a wind turbine or whatever we have here. This structural weight, the structural loading needs to be transmitted through the ground effectively. And with a shallow footing, basically what we do is just increase the surface area that it is applied to. So instead of having a point concentrated load with concentrated stresses, we distribute that load across safely so it can be absorbed by the soil type effectively and not settle or not fail in the different ways that we'll talk about. For deep foundations, it's a little different, but still kind of the same. We have the ground surface and we have a structural load here coming from whatever that type of structure we have. But instead of distributing the load horizontally, basically what we're doing is distributing that load vertically. So these are deeper than shallow foundations, who would have thought? And now the majority of the resistance is a frictional resistance along the side of the pile or the drilled shaft. There's still a little bit of resistance, soil resistance here, but the majority of it is along the friction. So the type, the shape, and the material of the pile is really important, and that's why they're usually really long, so we can get that resistance there. I guess just to keep this similar, we should probably put these arrows up. So the soil is resisting the load like this. And we'll talk about this in much more detail. But what we'll see is the different types of soil at the site is going to help us decide what type of foundation we use. And the main thing that we need to remember from Geotech 1, the main property, is the density of our soil. So density is shown by the unit weight, or gamma. So this is our Greek letter gamma. And this means the unit weight, or this represents the unit weight of our soil. And that is showing us how much pounds of material are per cubic foot. So basically it is a density. And what we see for most soil, as our density goes up, or the higher the more dense our soil is, then the strength of the material goes up as well. And you probably think about this for like a foam block or like a sponge. A sponge has a lot of air. There's a very low density. It's easy to rip a sponge in half. It has very low strength. But if that sponge was made of a different material, but the same size, like a rock or even a piece of wood, it's hard to rip a piece of wood that may be the same size as sponge because it's more dense. That's just a general property, a general rule of thumb that we see in just any everyday mechanics. So these are the kind of the big picture, what we'll talk about. More specifically, what we'll talk about along the tentative schedule here. We're going to review a lot of the geotechnical basics and then get into the strength and the failure mechanisms in our first half of the semester. That exam will be on February 23rd, exam 1. That'll only be testing on all of these here, all these lectures that are color coordinated. February 28th, I'll introduce our final project and do an exam review from that first week, just to ensure that all those concepts are all understood and we're all on the same page. And then we'll start getting into the design and the analysis of shallow foundations before spring break, wrap up shallow foundations after spring break, and then we'll get into our deep foundations, piles, and drilled shafts for the remainder of the semester. Our exam 2, or the final exam, will be a little bit earlier on April 20th. And then we'll have 2 days of project work days. And then our project report will be due when the final normally is. So again, you'll have this whole time to work on the final, and I'll have more details on that. Basically, what we're going to be recreating is a professional engineering report. So you'll be working in groups of 5 And I will pick or I'll have a pool of projects, a pool of site conditions, and basically you'll design the most well-suited foundation type based off of the site conditions that are provided to you. And then you'll produce a report that's replicating a professional geotechnical report. So a few important dates too, also to note, the January 14th is the add drop week. Next week, so next Monday on January 17th, we actually won't have class in celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. February 4th is the withdrawal deadline. Spring break, we're actually going to have spring break this semester, so that's sweet. That's going to be 14th and 16th, so no classes then. And then the withdrawal deadline, that final one, is going to be April 8th. So just keep these on your calendar. And again, though, this is going to be tentative. It should stick pretty good, but I'll give you a heads up if anything needs to change as far as exam dates and stuff goes. Okay, so most of you guys I've had before, but I just wanted to include a little bit short bio about me. My last name is Shamit, so you can call me Dr. Shamit. That's fine with me. And it is, pronounced Shamit. I graduated from UCF, got all 3 degrees there. Worked for Terracon, which is a geotech firm in Winter Park. There's actually an office up here too. Did a lot of geotech work, subsurface investigations, and I-4 Ultimate, as well as the First Coast Expressway going on out west of Jacksonville. So that was kind of cool to see it being under construction now. I worked a lot in karst studies. So karst is with sinkholes and springs and all that fun stuff that we have in Florida. And so that's kind of like where my specialty lies. Worked over at FIT in Melbourne, which is where I grew up, Melbourne, Florida. So it was cool being able to work at the college down there. And now here at UNF started in August of 2020. So still getting used to campus now that we're in person and all that stuff. You'll get a chance to meet my wife. She'll be around to help out with test proctoring and all that fun stuff. And yeah, again, my goal here is just to apply as much real world experience to you guys. A lot of you guys have already gotten a chance to work and experience some of the real world engineering, and you'll see how it's very different than what we'll learn in class. So this course, just being a tech elective, is hopefully going to bridge that gap in between the technical aspects of design to the real world application. Oh yeah, I also have a dog. You guys have probably seen pictures of him before. That's what he looks like when he's happy and not just after surgery and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to have this class with you guys and get to know you guys in a little bit more, especially being in person. Did want to just throw this out there. COVID is still around and it still sucks. So yeah, big news there. Just wanted to again share some of the resources that UNF has for you guys. First and foremost, if I didn't already mention this, health and safety comes first in this class. If you've been exposed, if you have any symptoms, just don't come to class. Don't worry about any repercussions, like we can make it up later, or anything like that. I just want your safety and the safety of your classmates and of me to come as a priority. That's far important than attending class or anything like that. So again, just communicate with me if there's anything that comes up. If you prefer to watch it online and you don't feel comfortable coming to class, then that's fine too. We can work and I can just send you the lectures before Friday if you prefer that. But just be smart about it and, follow these resources and take advantage of these resources that UNF has with the daily, with COVID tests and even the take-home tests. I think you can get those for free here too, which are really sweet because that's really expensive normally. So just, again, know that, your health and safety is priority. And yeah, just be smart and, be compassionate and be courteous to your classmates with whatever they believe in or however they view this virus and the pandemic and stuff. All right, that's it for today. Lecture 1 is going to be on Monday. Remember to review Canvas. We are going to have a quiz that's going to be posted on Wednesday after the lecture. It's going to be due on Friday. And again, remember there's no class next Monday. Any questions in the meantime, feel free to email me, stop by my office. Looking forward to a good semester and good luck on your first week back, everybody. All right, I'll see y'all Wednesday.